Wow, thank you for that outrageous promise. Who's hungry? Only some of you, so it's all good. It's so really good to be here. I'm delighted. There are 2,200 people attending this event today. Hey, how about that? Yep. This is the largest collection of marketers in at least forever. Right? And to get marketing people to do anything together is quite difficult, am I right? Yeah. But here we are. And you came hopefully because you want to receive something. And what I want to talk about is what you can maybe give to the community as well. So this is us, marketing up close and in demand. And Pearl, how amazing was that? I'll be honest, I'm a little intimidated following that. But she spoke about the personal brand, and I want to talk about us, the collective brand. Because you see, marketers, and at Masa, and I'll talk a bit about them a little bit later, and in forums like this, and in the coffee station this morning, I heard it as well, marketers are feeling a bit like this, am I right? How many of you know where this comes from? Yeah, do you understand the original context? It's pornography. You can Google it. Not pornography, just Google the Key and Peele thing. I mean, you can Google pornography if you want to, but maybe not on your work laptop. Marketers are under some pressure. And you hear narratives like, well, we're no longer in the C-suite. We're no longer on the exec. Our budgets are being cut. We are largely misunderstood and misaligned, am I right? Yeah, it's a bit crap. So this, and here's some data behind it, this comes from the World Federation of Advertising. This came out 2-3 weeks ago. And it was polling marketers all over the world, and this is just from our region here in South Africa, around what are some of your concerns you have about the marketing profession. And these are the top 7 worries. They're concerned that defining and measuring the right KPIs. We're worried that we don't have good data. The economy, the economical context is putting us under huge pressure. Strategy's hard. Linking between marketing and company or sales growth. I love this. Marketing. What's the most thing you're most worried about marketing is, well, marketing. If your bosses could hear you laugh about that now. Hey? Right? And worried about the budgets being cut. These are some broad concerns. If you summarize them, you can summarize them into these 3 questions. Is actually what we do valuable? Is what we do measurable? And is what we do, does it make any difference? Does it really actually matter? Does this build into anything? So, my brothers in the room, we need to talk about us. Right? If you've had a spouse say, we need to talk about us, that good feeling, that happy feeling that you know what's coming, we're going to talk a little bit about this. Some years ago, a friend of mine, in fact, I spoke to her last week, Andy Wright, beg your pardon, she was Andy Fell then when she said this to me, who's currently the marketing director of Master Foods. We used to sell chewing gum together. And selling chewing gum's really stressful, you guys. Oh, my God. No, really, it felt like that at the time. And she used to say to me, listen, Doug, we're not exactly saving lives here. I mean, we're selling chewing gum. Right? She used to say this a lot. And she was right. It was a nice way to just get a bit of context around some of the day-to-day difficulties that you face, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to give you 3 things to put you back in the C-suite, and all 3 things start with C. Easy. Number 1, do we actually contribute? Do we actually measure? And in the words of Bill Clinton in 1992, no, not those words, you're still with Jordan Peele, eh? It's the economy, stupid. This sawtooth graph is the degree to which the economy is driven by you guys. 2/3 of South Africa's economy, its GDP, is driven by private consumption. The day-to-day things that people buy and sell, the things that the 2,500 people that are here today oversee. You are responsible for contributing to the economy. The economy isn't something that happens to you, it's something that you do to it. Did you know that? So when you say the government's giving us a hard time, load shedding, crime, corruption, what, and all of that's true, believe me, from Nando's perspective, you know we know this, right? The economy is driven by 20% as the government. So you are 3 times more effective than the government on the state of the economy. Do you matter? Yeah. 66 plus 20% gives you 86, which leaves 14. What's the last 14? It's like mining, agriculture, exports, those kinds of things. They're important too. But nothing drives the economy more than the people at the IMC today. Am I right? You do matter. Here's some more numbers. In the next year, you're going to spend 60 billion rand. 60 that we know about. Right? On media and advertising. Right? So your budgets are cut under pressure, I get it. 60 billion. The total South African budget deficit is R500 million. It's not even 1% of what we're going to be spending in the next year. So when you start thinking about scarcity and how little you actually have, what we have, because we need to talk about us, is immensely, immensely powerful. So you're right, you're not exactly saving lives here, but we are actually making them longer and more satisfying, and here's some more maths. On the left, you can see GDP across the bottom, and across the top, on the y-axis, you have life expectancy. So more GDP, the longer people live. What drives GDP? Marketing people. Right? Not only that, if you look on this side, you have GDP and the quality of life that you have. And if you're looking for South Africa, we're kind of bottom left at the moment, so we have work to do. Right? Is you have a better quality of life as well. There is nothing in the history of human civilization that eradicates poverty like GDP growth. So if you want to save the world and save the country, the first thing you can do is run your brand and business better. Do you matter? Yes, you do. Why? That's why. Alrighty. Here's C number 2. You have to embrace chaos. Right? Problems are what we get paid for. Literally. Right? Marketing, and I mean this respectfully, is the only business, the only function that looks forward. You've got the accountants, those guys who put your budget under pressure for reasons that are totally understandable, because you're spending 60 billion rand, right? Is a record, by definition, of what has happened. All financial statements look backwards. Yeah? Operations, the ops, they're always ops guys, am I right? It's always guys in ops, right? Operations make sure that today runs well. HR, IT, all important. They basically move the resources around the business to make sure that the business can function, right? Marketing is the only business which has its feet in the present, because that's where you get market share data from, and research and insights and social media tracking sentiment, all of these things. That's what happens today. And then it looks forward to what could be. You are the only people who do this, right? And so you have to stand today and stretch forward into tomorrow, which means you have to embrace chaos. It's no mistake that every key religious text, from the Bhagavad Gita to the Hebrew Bible, when it tells the stories of creation, talk about the ordering of chaos, taking difficult things and making some kind of sense out of it. And you as South Africans have plenty of practice of doing exactly that. Am I right? Henry Miller says, chaos is the score upon which reality is written. Problems are our business. And when you solve consumer problems, they pay you for it. It's amazing, right? So run towards them. Solving consumer problems is the foundation of value creation. What is it that you are solving for someone today? With me. C, number 3, collaborate. Brand trust, and we can talk a bit about this in the following section when we talk about reputation management, but it is a lead indicator of brand value and category value. Before someone buys your brand, they look at the category you're operating and decide, is this even something I want? Right? And let me give you an example of this. This is from 1997. This is Nike. And Nike sell a lot of apparel, mostly to young people. And young people started to ask questions because they're more informed now. And if you have young people of your own, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where did those shoes come from? Who made them? What were they paid? So the $200, which is about 40,000 rand, that I paid for those shoes, how much of that money went to them? Where did the raw materials for those shoes come from? And so Nike came under huge public scrutiny for the way that they treated their supply chain. So your supply chain, how the things are made, it has a material impact on how people perceive your product. It's not just your advertising, but also the whole scrutiny of the business. So Nike set about over the course of 10 years, it's the early 2000s, and they're still doing it to this day, of working through who they employ, where that comes from, how they're paid, what are the working conditions, where do the raw materials come, what happens once I've finished wearing the shoes and the clothing. And they pioneered this kind of circular economy. Now, here's what's fascinating about it. Here's what I would have done, is they could have kept that to themselves because they can build competitive advantage. We are the only brand that looks after our employees, that makes sure everyone's paid well, that resources ethically. No one else does this, but we do. That's the point of competitive advantage. But what they did was they made it publicly available to everybody for free. They gave it all away because they understand that there's more value in collaborating sometimes than there are in competing. It's not enough to win, you have to win-win. Because they understood that young people, if you're skeptical about how clothing and where that thing stuff comes from, that applies that there's a bad smell for one brand, there's a bad smell for lots of brands. And those of you in financial services know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah? So we have to collaborate. This one, who remembers this? So let me tell you what happened here. This is from Nkuku High, the School of Nando's. It's a Model C school. Twitter was right. 27th of March, we are given a presidential order to stop, drop, and wash your hands, right? Because it's 2020, it's COVID's here. And we did what we like to do, which is to be there in the moment and talk about it. So we said, turns out finger licking, you shouldn't do that. You should be washing your hands. And we really didn't mean this to be shady. Wait. Because the people you think you're thinking about had also walked away from finger licking good as a payoff line at the time. And so when we put this out, the internet loved it, and the press loved it. In fact, most people loved it. One person didn't. And he phoned me, and he's currently running this magnificent brand in Singapore, and he's a very dear friend of mine. But I want to fast forward just over a month later. We're sitting down in lockdown, and we've got all of this food just sitting in our restaurants, and we can't cook it or sell it. And you have hundreds of thousands of millions of South Africans are going hungry, and that's frankly bullshit. So we did this. We got together with our friends at KFC, and they're our friends, and McDonald's, and we invited some other people, but they couldn't make it. And we developed the world's first streetwise peri-peri McBurger. And we got special government permission to cook the food that's sitting in our restaurants and distribute it to those who are hungry. Now, the best distributors of food are, of course, KFC. The Ad Hope program is Olympically big and amazing for what it does to young, vulnerable South Africans. Now, that doesn't work unless we work all together. Am I right? It's not about winning. You can win, but you can also win-win. Am I right? Fantastic. So, back to this. You're not alone. I mean, clearly we're not alone. The opportunity to embrace chaos, to make sure we contribute, and to collaborate is a massive and important invitation. And I want to talk genuinely very quickly about Masa, and I do want to congratulate Donovan for not making the obvious joke about Yo Masa. That's enormous restraint, thank you. But the Marketing Association of South Africa, for those of you who don't know, is the only industry body that represents you guys. There's only one, and it matters, right? It is the face of marketers when we face government. The government are, rightfully trying to do right by people, but government is government, 20%, not marketers, 65%, right? And so when it comes to things like regulation, they mean well, but not always act well. And so they ask us, how would you like to, run yourselves as a professional organization and a body? So whether that's regulation or transformation, it's Masa who represent you guys for this. It also provides, credible, tools for you guys to use. Like the MAPS survey was, at its time, when it was first developed about 25 odd years ago, was the first of its kind anywhere in the world. And it's recently been refreshed by the Marketing Research Foundation. And this is internationally recognized as best practice. This is a world-class tool if you want to understand how the economy is working, who's buying what, where, when, and why. So it allows you to use that because, believe me, you don't always want to trust what the media people say about the measurements of their own tools. Right? I don't mean that to be shady, but you do want things which are professionally run and independent, and that's what Master provides. Secondly, it supports marketing excellence. Things like today, that's why we're here today, and also things like the Marketing Achievement Awards, which are the only awards that recognize marketers. They're wonderful awards that recognize agencies and media people, and you've got Effies tonight, that's great. But the Marketing Achievement Awards are the only one that recognize actual marketing contributions. And lastly, and I heard some applause for this, but it wasn't loud enough, so it means you don't understand, so let me help you. Mars oversees a designations program. So this is everything from a marketing associate, which we have a few here today, through to chartered marketers in South Africa. We have about 140 chartered marketers in South Africa. So if you are looking to grow your career, one of the ways in which you can differentiate yourself meaningfully is to get a chartered marketing designation. Right? So this, and it's internationally recognized in, I think, 2 or 3 different continents around the world. It's a very, very important thing to have, and you have to keep up to date with it. When I got my marketing degree a few years ago, the internet wasn't yet a thing. It yet is very clearly, obviously a thing. So the degree I had then versus the designation I have now are largely incomparable. So it's good that you stay up to date. I'm preaching to the choir because you're here already. So all of this for the price of a modestly placed billboard. All of that. I feel like a Very Mark ad. Right? Is there more? So yes, that's what you get by being a member of Master. But it's more important to say, well, listen, we actually need you because we represent you to support us so that we can do these things better. So lastly, I wanted to talk a little bit about pressure. Who watched the rugby on the weekend? Good, yeah. It's one of the other things that brings us together. And Rassie, onze Rassie, in Rassie we trust, right? Was asked, does he feel pressure going into the World Cup? And he says, well, in South Africa, pressure is not having a job. Pressure is one of your close relatives being murdered. Rugby shouldn't be something that creates pressure. It should be something that creates hope. We've got the privilege of giving people, hey, this gets better. We've got the privilege of giving people hope, but hope isn't talking about hope and saying you've got hope. Hope is when you play well, no matter your political or religious differences, because for those 80 minutes you have to agree, and it's not our responsibility, it's our privilege to try and to fix things. So if you take rugby out of that paragraph and put in marketing, this is what you get. In South Africa, pressure is not having a job. Pressure is one of your close relatives being murdered. Marketing shouldn't be something that creates pressure. It's something that creates hope. We've got the privilege of giving people hope. But hope isn't talking about hope and saying that you've got it. Hope is when you market your brands well, no matter your political or business or religious differences. Because for these minutes, for these moments, we have to agree, and it's not our responsibility, it's our privilege to fix things. Thank you.
Hold on. I know why you've won all those awards. I really do. This man, you're amazing, man. Like the energy that you put out. Like, I was hanging on to every word, and I think this is a perfect opportunity to say this, but what you and the team have done for Nando's is really fantastic, and you continue to do so. The fact that you're fucked. Whoa. Fact. That. I don't know what happened. I'm so sorry. Hey. You know when 10,000 Rand comes off your paycheck immediately? Yeah, he swore. The fact that you've stuck to your guns and still keep doing so is amazing. I can guarantee you, every single marketer in this room, at some point in a presentation, in a pitch, in a strat document, has gone, you know how Nando's does it? You know how Nando's does it? Everybody has done that. They've referenced you. And to be, what do you call it? The trendsetter. Let's just call you the trendsetter. To be the person that's always ahead, the person that everybody looks up to and goes, damn, I wish I had the balls, man. I wish I had the balls, you know? But I think really from everybody here, I think Nando's a really, really huge inspiration globally. You know, I think, yeah, give this man a round of applause, man. I don't even know what else to say. Well done. Thank you.